you seen Star Wars?
Another week, another stupid Star Wars rumor. If you haven't noticed by now, fake news has become a big part of the Star Wars fandom, and a big story is that Disney or Lucasfilm will retcon the Star Wars sequels because a bunch of people on YouTube are claiming so, basically. This past week, a rumor surfaced from one of the biggest fake news channels in the community that isn't named Mike Zero, and they said that Lucasfilm and Disney will use archived footage of Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford and essentially paint over The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker with a Disney Plus series that tells a new version of the sequel trilogy. Oh, and just to make it, better and, more enticing, George Lucas is apparently being brought back to direct this monstrosity. Now, aside from the fact that Lucas is damn near 80 years old and hasn't directed a movie in over 15 years, or that remaking the Star Wars sequels will ruin canon and pretty much ruin Star Wars forever, there are still people who believe this nonsense. Well, we have two people who have completely debunked this fake rumor. One is this guy, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, you may have heard of him. He created this thing called Star Wars The Mandalorian. This man's name is Jon Favreau, and this past week he debunked the rumors that the Mandalorian series was retconning the sequels by saying, "The story unfolded as I wrote it. The Mandalorian inherits a great deal from existing Star Wars stories, and when I write, that context is always a consideration. It became clear that within the established continuity, certain things were likely to transpire." So there you have it. John just confirmed that The Mandalorian will lead into the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And as the late, great Billy Mace said, but wait, there's more. Inverse recently reached out to one of the longest and most reliable scoopers in the industry for Star Wars, a scooper named Jason Ward from MakingStarWars.net. And Jason said when it came to the context of these retcon of the sequel trilogy, he said that there is nothing that makes me think anyone has any inkling of reworking the sequel trilogy. In fact, the idea is preposterous. Each of the sequel trilogy films is performing rather well for Disney/Lucasfilm financially. To erase those would weaken a consistent revenue stream that is currently being capitalized on. The idea of erasing those films would likely anger more fans than it would please. Can you imagine trying to convince the general public that the films they just saw do not matter? This isn't the Terminator franchise. The idea of Carrie Fisher's final films being erased would be a slap in the face to Fisher's legacy. So if Jason Ward says this isn't happening, and Jon Favreau comes out and makes claims that are the opposite of the sequels being retconned and The Mandalorian retconning them, then guess what, boys and girls? The sequels aren't being retconned. And before you start hating on my channel for pretty much speaking the truth, I have been an outspoken critic of the sequels for years now. I have made countless videos hating on The Last Jedi when it came out, after it came out. I even made a video on the trailer before the movie came out, saying that The Last Jedi's trailer was bad. I sadly thought J.J. Abrams would fix everything with The Rise of Skywalker, and I couldn't have been more wrong. That movie was just awful too. Truth be told, I've seen The Last Jedi maybe 4 or 5 times, 4 or 5 at the most. And The Rise of Skywalker, I've seen twice, and both were in theaters. So believe you me, I am no fan of these movies. However, I'm also not a brain dead and don't believe everything I hear on the internet. Like, honestly, who really thinks Disney would erase the sequels because a bunch of people on YouTube don't like them? All they see is dollar signs, and aside from Solo, all the new Star Wars movies have been a massive profit for Disney. And like Jason said, how would you explain to casual audiences that the movies they just watched no longer mattered? The one certainty that we always have and have had in the Star Wars fandom, in the Star Wars realm in general, is that the movies are the purest form of canon. But if we retcon the sequels, then the canon is no longer relevant or real, and you have just completely ruined storytelling in Star Wars in general. Also, my big question for all this fake news is simply just one thing. This is literally the question that cannot and will not be answered because it can't be answered by these idiots. But my big question is simply, when? When? When will this retcon take place? When will the Disney people erase the sequels? When will you see all of these so-called insider scoops come to life? When will we see George Lucas and his cut of the episode 9 that you've all claimed to be real? When will we see this new sequel trilogy that will retcon the old one? When will we see this Disney Plus series? When are we going to see confirmation on it? When are we going to see confirmation on any of this? When will any of this release, and when it never releases, are you finally going to stop listening to these liars who have used your anger and rage against the new Star Wars content to profit themselves? In 2020, there was a fun study showing how people who are angry and basically mad are more likely to fall for misinformation. And all I'm seeing in the Star Wars community are angry people who believe anything a guy dressed up in a dildo will tell them. So I will wait. I will give it until 2025, the 10-year anniversary of The Force Awakens and the start of the Star Wars sequels. If we don't see the sequels retconned, if we don't see this secret footage of the original cast, or if we don't get this confirmation of this made-up Lucasfilm Civil War, then it will be proof that this was all a lie. If by 2025, that's 5 years from now, guys, you guys still believe any of this bullshit, you are a full-blown moron, and you're living proof that the education system is broken in this country. Basically the world, too. So, if you got 5 years, you can do it. You can prove me wrong. 5 years to retcon the sequels. 5 years to show me this Lucas cut of Episode 9. 5 years to produce any real evidence of these lies you've been spreading. And the worst part of it all is going to be that in 5 years from now, you will have all forgotten about these lies and these fake news. You will have all forgotten anything that had to deal with this stuff. The outrage will fade away. All the lies you believed, you were just going to act like they never happened. Because that's how this goes. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you really think the sequels are being retconned? And if you do believe that, are you going to call Jon Favreau and Jason Ward liars? Let's talk about it. Thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a like or comment because it does help out the channel. If you want to stay up to date on the latest Star Wars news, subscribe to the channel as well. I'm Star Wars Only. I will see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.